You right there, folks. So apparently I've been tagged by atheist blind chick. I was wondering what this tagging malarkey was all about. I don't really get it. I don't know what I mean, I think I'm supposed to answer the questions and then tag stroke pester someone else with the same questions, or do we change questions? I don't understand what the tag etiquette. I don't. Yeah. So anyway, question one: if you could change one thing about the atheist community on YouTube, what would it be and why? Nothing. There's a lot of variety, lots of different people doing lots of different things. I vlog mostly. I'd like to see less vlogging and more really creative videos, music videos, sketches, just more creative stuff. So I love people like Edward Curran and Soldier in God's Army, for instance, because they're doing something a little bit different, you know. But anyway, yes, I wouldn't really change that much. Question two: if you could convince just one religious person to abandon their beliefs, who would it be and why? The Pope. Sorry guys, it's all been a cock up. God tells me he doesn't exist. That'd be good. I don't know. Abandon their beliefs. What kind of beliefs? Do you mean abandon them wholesale? A good thing actually would be if the Pope would have a revelation and say, "Oh, actually, condoms are great, guys. Seriously, go ahead, use them. They're not the spawn of Satan." And that'd be great because that would help a lot. That would stop a lot of people dying needlessly from sexually transmitted diseases, particularly AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa. That'd be a good thing to change. That'd probably be my number one actually. 3. What was your religious upbringing? How does it influence your opinion of religion? Well, I didn't really have a religious upbringing. I was baptised when I was about 3.5 because it's just something you do in this country, you know. I went to a Church of England primary school, so we did go to church once a week, and we did have religious ceremonies, religious assemblies every day where we'd sing a few hymns and get quoted some bizarre scriptures, but it wasn't really that. It was more like a community school than a religious school. There was just an emphasis on everybody working together. So I mean, it wasn't really. I don't think it's affected me that much. I think I'm slightly more receptive to seeing some of the good things in religion than some atheists because of my religious upbringing. my quote religious upbringing, i.e. going to a religious school. But I never really had a religious upbringing. My dad claimed to be an atheist when I was growing up. My mum never really claimed to be anything. When my parents split up, my mum came out of the closet as a sort of Wiccan-y type. She always had been, but she didn't really talk about it because when she was with my dad, because my dad got annoyed by it. So really, I haven't had a religious upbringing. If you want to count my primary school as religious upbringing, yeah, as I say, it's probably made me slightly more receptive to the good things in religion than some atheists, but I don't think it's made that much difference. 4. What's your most controversial viewpoint as far as general attitudes amongst other atheists go? Well, I've got a lot of controversial views. I mean, I think Britain should withdraw from the EU. I think gun laws in this country should be a lot more relaxed than they are. I think we should be allowed to conceal and carry, for instance. I think that drugs should be legalised, or drugs should be legalised. So I've got a lot of controversial opinions. But as far as atheists go, well, getting back to what I said a second ago, I think the Bible should be taught. It's a great document. It's our tribal mythology, if you will. You can't really understand and properly appreciate much of English literature without understanding the Bible to some degree. It's a wonderful document, and it's our mythology. It's something to be proud of, and it's got a lot of great stuff in it. It's got some wisdom in it, and it's got some bizarre tales in it, but it's good fun. As a mythology, we shouldn't take it seriously. You know, we shouldn't say this is the way to live our lives. But because atheists are trying to fight the religious viewpoint, my view that the Bible should be taught in schools, and it is good. It's a wonderful cultural document. Is not so popular. I'd say that's probably my most controversial view. I mean, I like quoting Jesus, for example. He was a bit weird in some of the things he said, but I do like quoting Jesus. So I don't think some atheists like that. 5. What scientific endeavour excites you the most? I'm not sure. I mean, I quite like space and everything to do with space, and Yeah, I think stuff to do like time travel or traveling to distant stars or traveling to Mars or maybe one day colonizing Mars, those kind of things are quite interesting to me. But in terms of the real world, cures for diseases is quite exciting to me. I mean, people say science hasn't done anything. People say, like, I mean, you watch Jesus Camp, and the woman was like, actually, science doesn't prove anything. What? It's crazy, and it's just like, hang on, hello, look around, look at the fucking light, look at your blusher that you're wearing, this woman. Look at that stove you've got. Look at that kettle you've got. Look at the fact that you're in your mid-40s and you're not dead yet. Look at the fact that you've got good health care. You got hot running water. That's all science. Religion didn't give any of that to you. That was all science, you know. So it makes me crazy when people say science doesn't do anything. It's mad. And anyway, I mean, look at all the wonderful diseases we've conquered or managed to keep at bay and so on, you know, particularly in the West. It's wonderful, you know. So cures, really, I mean, vaccines and cures for diseases, inoculations, these things, and also surgeries to help people. So basically, scientific advancements in terms of medical advancements are wonderful, and I hope they continue. I mean, there are forms of blindness, obviously, we still can't cure. If you lose your legs, guess what? Tough, you know. And dementia is a big problem, a worry of mine. Things like AIDS, of course, you know, I really hope we cure those. You know, that's the thing that I find most exhilarating. Of the four horsemen, Dawkins, Dennett, Hitchens and Harris, who's your favourite and why? That's really hard. They're all fantastic. I mean, they're all amazingly lucid and witty speakers and writers. Dawkins has taught me a lot about evolution and about biology. I need to learn more from him and from others, but you know, he's taught me a lot. Dennett's posed a lot of interesting ideas, do with free will, etc. Harris's book, End of Faith, is absolutely fantastic. It's got to be one of the best books ever written. I mean, it's fantastic. Everyone should read it. I don't care who you are or what your interests are, read that book. But I would say that actually my favourite of those is Hitchens. I mean, I think the thing is that it's just the breadth of topics that Hitchens covers. I mean, if you look at his sort of bibliography, he's written on so many different topics. He's such an amazingly sharp, satirical sometimes, very ironic, sarcastic, but very gentle and humble a lot of the time. He's so witty, so clever, and he's so funny. Someone said, you know, he's impossible of being boring. I mean, he's just fantastic writer, but he's also a fantastic speaker. He's such a great public speaker. He's one of the great public speakers, you know. Really, I love listening to him speak. And it's not just a powerful voice and a wonderful delivery, but he really is a very effective speaker. So I'd have to say, yeah, Hitch definitely is my favourite of the Four Horsemen. And 7, what's your least favourite theistic argument and how do you go about refuting it? I'm not sure. I think the arguments that upset me most, the arguments that I like the least from theists, are not the intelligent kind of philosophical, theological theistic arguments like, oh, the ontological, blah 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 blah. My most hated arguments are the ones that just ordinary people come out with. You know, ordinary people who have decided to become Christian or whatever because they've been convinced by actually a completely imbecilic argument, and yet you try and refute it and they don't get their head around it. For instance, this has happened a few times, but one particular time that was notable was a girl I worked with. She was like a born-again Christian in effect, and she sort of rebaptized like a year or two before this point, and she was like church going. She's really really up with it, and very pious, and she said, yeah, but there just has to be a God, or otherwise, you know, people who suffer, there's no justice. And I looked at her and she said that, like, huh? What? Yeah, there's no justice. Just because you want there to be a God and a heaven and a hell, so there can be justice ultimately, doesn't mean there is. You're confusing what you want with what is. They're not the same thing. And she just couldn't understand that. And I said to her, look, just because bad happens to good people and good happens to bad people sometimes, doesn't mean that it's going to be corrected in the afterlife. Why would it be? What makes you assume that? Because it's just not fair. Yeah? And yet she found that a really convincing argument. I mean, that's one of the arguments that she finds most convincing, and I don't grasp that. And this is an intelligent person, believe it or not. This is what, and that's a really bad argument. Another argument is the watchmaker argument, but seriously, Dawkins wrote a good book on that. So I hope these comments of mine have been useful.